Welcome to Crossing Faiths. I'm John Pinna, and today we have a really special guest, Roya Mahboob, who's an entrepreneur, businesswoman, humanitarian, and has a new film being released in just under a month from now. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so, we have crossed paths, or I don't know if we crossed paths, but we've been in the same theater. But you're at the American University of Afghanistan and the International Center for Afghan Women's Economic Development, which I was heavily involved in. But we never saw each other. So it's one of those moments in time I was going, were we in the same room or have we done something? But I don't think we've ever met before.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember, but your face is familiar, you know.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. Maybe I have a face for radio, not for television. So maybe it's just one of those faces that's out there.
No, no, I think that you have a face for the television too.
Oh, that's thoughtful.
Your voice is good, so I can see that.
That means a lot. I mean, your Digital Citizens Fund is your primary sort of business now and your primary initiative.
Yeah, I mean, it's my day job is my foundation, but I do also have started startups.
Okay.
Early stage startup for building robotic educational kits.
Yeah, and so the Muslims for Muslims, we helped with the K through 12 robotics programming. We were getting curriculum and actually spearheading that with translation over to Afghanistan. So we were involved in that for a little bit, and as well as the robotics team. I mean, during the Trump administration, I was stateside working with the Trump administration to try to make sure the visas were available for the robotics team.
Oh wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's so like we've been in each other's orbit for a brief period of time, and then we've kind of left out of orbit, but we've never really met, which is kind of funny. And I'll have to when the podcast is over, I'll have to send you the emails and you can look, because I'm curious. Because one of the things you asked me at the beginning before we chatted was how's your dari? We helped with the translation of the robotics programming, and we sent it aloft to you. So I'm wondering how that translation came across. You probably looked at it and go, who's this guy and what's going on here? So because everything's with a New York accent, like I said. So, but in any event, the robotics team, like a lot of what you do is with like technology, the sort of this Digital Citizens Fund. What is it and what's it about? It's entrepreneurship, but the digital component is technology, right?
Yes, I mean, Digital Citizen Fund is a non-profit organization which is more focusing on equipping women and girls, but particularly in Afghanistan, with digital literacy, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship skills. Through our program, we provide, the training, that very simple training, that how to work with a computer to level that they can do coding. They learn about social media. They learn about robotics. They learn also a little bit about they learn also about Bitcoin and financial literacy. And we also help women to start their own startups. And we so far we also built the technology center inside of the public school. We built 13 technology and STEM centers, mostly across Afghanistan, and we help more than 24,000 of the girls come to our program. And we also help with hundreds of them to start their own startups, which was before the Taliban took over.
Right. So it's and it's still functioning even though the Taliban has taken over. It's still stateside and international.
Correct? Yes.
And so we've the impetus for reaching out was this movie. There's your work has been ongoing and profound, and there's a movie coming out called Rule Breakers, which is where it's about your work in Afghanistan in 2021 and beyond. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about the film and which will be premiering next in under a month in March.
Yes, it's will be released on the 7th of March. Well, the film obviously, it's about my personal stories and also about the Afghan Girls Robotic Team. The film is fictional version of our lives, but I think that the director and filmmaker did great jobs to make sure the authenticity of the authenticity of the film to be portraying the journey of the Afghan Girls Robotic Team and the challenges that we faced in the film, either from doubt, struggle, the victories, and the challenges that we faced and the determination that define our paths. But I think that it's like that you stepping back into the most challenging and the most inspiring moment of your life, and I think that the film is not just about the story of the us or but I think it's more about the story of every girl who have a dream beyond the limitation that imposed on them. So, but obviously the film also is about technology and women and robotics.
I mean, it's a profound moment in time. I spend a lot of time sort of writing about theoretical physics, which is my hobby, right? So, and applying that to social sciences, and so the there's a deficit in the access to like STEM, and science education in Afghanistan prior to the the Taliban takeover. It was difficult to get access to resources, but there's that moment in time where these last 22 years before the Taliban takeover, where there was access and it was growing and it was healthy, and there was a whether it was the American University of Afghanistan or what it was, the International Center for Afghan Women's Economic Development, which did entrepreneurship, there was a lot of really innovative things going on. And maybe you could speak a little bit about that period of time when you could take an idea or whether it be wanting an education or participating in something profound, and there was some access there, because it was like a golden age.
Yes, I usually say that 20 years is a golden age of for Afghan. I mean, that period of time I learned about computers, and there was lots of the opportunities for the women, and we had access to go to the school, as you mentioned. I could start startups, and many other women had the businesses. Women could participate in politics, and I think more than 30% of the women in parliament the people who participated as our representative in parliament, I think that more than 30% are women, and women could become ministers, policymakers, and when running for the presidency. So all of these things were possible for the women. We had from 10 million students who go to the schools, I think that more than 37 to 40% are the women at that time. And women could go to the universities, and women could do the younger generation could participate in robotics competition around the world. So obviously things during that time was great, and many of the younger generation believed in their future. They wanted that to make their country to be their source of technology or innovation and entrepreneurships. But unfortunately, everything has been changed since Taliban took over the country.
Yeah, what's the status as you see it right now? I mean, you have this, the Taliban's taken over. There's apparently some debate on the status of women amongst the Taliban, but everything's been shut down. An American University, for example, is I helped with bringing some students over here to BARD. We have 100 students over here at BARD from AUAF, and the first 50, was helping with spiriting them and making sure they could get over here and get out of Afghanistan. But then there's, I think we got 200 or 300 students up to the American University of Central Asia, and so which is a BARD affiliated program. But the challenge is that everything's remote now, and we have this sort of golden age that's ended with education and access to services. And so what's your work like now when it comes to engaging women and girls in Afghanistan? And is it existent or non-existent? We get a lot of these questions from our listenership.
Sure. I mean, since the Taliban took over the country, they have trying to dismantle all like institutions that were built for women empowerment, from closing down to all like schools and universities, and the girls cannot go to the schools. I think that the leader of the Taliban created more than 200 verdict rule for the women to create a restriction on women's movement, either it's to bar them from the social life, from the, and also create a lot of like restriction, even which is affected on their mental health and also the relationship that they have in their family. So that's why we call it a gender apartheid regimes, because what's happening in Afghanistan is devastating. And we're not talking about like 100 people or thousands or 100,000. Is about millions of people, half of the population. Their rights is taken away from them. The women not only have not access to education, no justice, no even going to the hospitals is getting more and more difficult for the women, and obviously for the work as well. And since the Taliban took over, obviously our organization before mostly involved with the education, which our focus was on technology and entrepreneurship. But since the Taliban took over Afghanistan's, our operations goes to providing underground education centers for the girls, provide online education for the girls. So that's, as you mentioned, you are also doing that. And then we also were a bit involved with evacuation, providing saving houses and with refugees in Pakistan. And also we provide food and emergency aid for the people during this time. And in 2022, actually one of our center was open, which Taliban allow under age of 15 that they can go to the school or learning or short classes training. And the Taliban took over when in 2022, they arrested our directors and some of our people. And for 1 year, we have to do advocacy until that they could release our directors and our staff. So after that, we closed temporarily our centers and more focusing on shifting our work online and supporting underground education program, because we find out that if you do the centralized work, when the Taliban took over our office, they had access to all of like information and the people who work for us. So that was quite risky, that they were checking everything that you do. If you in the social media not tweeting against of their policies or characterize them for the work that they are doing against of the women, they don't like it, and then they go through the like organization you support or the people that they are working with. So they want to kind of like threaten people that that they have to be silent, which some things that I can't, because with what's happening in Afghanistan, it's no one could be silent, because what they are doing is not based on their religion and nor ever it's kind of inhuman behavior that they are currently have it toward the women.
Yeah. So we're not, what's the, so there's a crackdown. They're basically, and they're not even chipping away. They're basically just they're wholesale cutting accessibility for women and girls, the access to services, even like you were saying, the just medical care, just the simple basic sort of things that are the necessities, and cracking down on dress and interface or engagement in public. What do you see? Is there a path forward? Is there that we have to get rid of the Taliban in order for things to move? Is there any movement within while the Taliban regime is in power, as you see it?
I think that there is hope still, because that more than 60% of the 62 or 63% of the population are under age of 25, which most of them grew up during the democracy and during the time that they had freedom and they had access to education and knowledge. And today is different than 1996. When the Taliban took over in 1996, there was people were not aware about computer phones and or have access to the internet. But today is different. And we have seen that after the Taliban took over, women go to the protested, and they and then the women who were evacuated and they went to exile. There is policymakers, as teachers, as doctors, and lawyers that they went to exile. Still continue to fighting for the women rights for women rights inside of Afghanistan. We're seeing that the women continue to do the education either underground, participating in underground schools, or participating online education, or they're trying to finding the scholarship to go out. So I think that there is still hope, but it might be I mean, the road seems to be difficult, but it doesn't mean that we're going to lose our hope. I think millions of the people are deserved that we can fight for their rights. We see that with the gender apartheid issues, that the women inside of the country, but also a lot of organization and the women activists and the policymaker worked, and until that ICC submitted an application for arresting the political leaders or leader of the Taliban, which I think that was a good step. And that's showing that the global community is not gonna forget the rights of the women, which I think that it should be, and we should making sure that to keep this issue visible. It's also not about providing aid. It's also about creating a long-term solution, like providing remote education, online work opportunities, providing a scholarship for the Afghan girls, and also I guess that the government and institution must continue to put pressure on the Taliban diplomatically, but in the meanwhile, we have to provide other resources that to making sure that the children and the women have access to the information and the knowledge. We have to know that extremists and terrorism are like diseases, and it's like a cancer, that it's caused by poor education, dysfunctional institutions, and not having the opportunities and living in the darkness. And I think that it can still be prevented if we have to work on the well-being of the citizen and their access to, and I think that access to information and knowledge and education is the key. And we have to making sure that our younger generation not be brainwashed to become radicalized.
I think it's I'm hopeful too. I think there's a like you were saying, it's very different than 1996. The Taliban 2.0 is a very different Taliban than the Taliban back then. It's a younger crowd. But there's also there's much more exposure to the global community and what's going on. And there's an opportunity. I don't know how big the opportunity is, but I speak with a lot of groups about what the possibilities might be. The film Rule Breakers is premiering on March 7th. It's got it speaks to your story. It speaks to the women's robotics team. How do you see this as a force multiplier for your work, and really what we just talked about? It's going to be accessible. It'll seep into Afghanistan. It'll be there, right? How do you see this as a force multiplier to not only celebrate your work in the past, but also be a stepping stone to possibly tipping the scales about gender apartheid in Afghanistan?
I think that obviously, my hope for the film is that to not only inspire Afghan girls, but the girls around the world to believe in their potential, especially in the STEM field. I want them to see that no matter where they come from or what obstacles they have or they face, they have the ability to learn, to invent, and succeed. I mean, right now, the situation of the girls in Afghanistan is heartbreaking. School and university, as I've maybe mentioned, they're close to the girls, and and being denied the rights to learn. And I hope that this film remind people that the good time that Afghanistan had and what women were capable of doing. And I hope that this film is a reminder that that Afghan women are intelligent and capable and full of the potential, and their rights to education should never be taken away. And it's, the film is mostly showing the time that were before Afghanistan collapse, and it's beyond like showing that the good timing in Afghanistan, but also still the film showed that like some of the challenges that women face in in Islam there because of the limited resources or cultural issues, and many others. But I hope by telling these stories, we are hope that it's encouraging the families and communities and decision makers to support girls' education, but especially in Islam, because I think that Islam is the future, and and women must be part of this. And if this film can help even one girls to be interested in engineering or science, I think that we already made the impact. And beyond of Afghanistan, I mean, obviously also once that people understand that what the girls right now going in Afghanistan, and they also continue their fight for their rights to learn. Yeah, the movie, this is more than just a movie. I think that I hope that it's be a message for the world, and also the girls that they needed to giving a chance to learn. And if the women get a chance to learn, they can do incredible things. And I think that for Afghan girls, it's a promise that their dreams and talent will not going to be forgotten, and we will keep continue to fight for their rights to education. Yeah.
Well, so how do people support your initiatives? If someone's listening to our podcast and they say, okay, I mean, obviously they can go to your movie on the 7th, which is premiering, and we'll provide access to the links and so forth. But what if someone wants to participate, someone wants to assist? I mean, what's happening with USAID and with the International Development Foreign Assistance Funds. So we're not there's funding right now for different programs is in question. But for your initiatives and what you do, what are the top 3 priorities that you hope that you want people to be aware of, so that you can continue your work, and you can actually move down the road towards your goals of providing not only access but encouragement and resources for women and young girls?
I mean, I hope that people would be interested to support our initiative, or any initiative that are working on STEM and working for the educations of the women. I mean, our foundation's Digital Citizen Fund is a non-profit organization. If they would be interested to support either our cause or any other cause that right now working for women and girls to have access to education. And I hope that this film also keep the world's attentions on the women's issues, specifically in Afghanistan, while the Taliban trying to to raise women from the public's life. We want that them to our foundations, and a platform that they can share their voices and they can learn, and that's finding the opportunities. And I think that's it's important that people keep continue fighting or talking with their policymakers to put the pressure on the Taliban that they can open the schools. But in general, as I mentioned, that the film is more about hope, and I think that this film is one of the few films about Muslim women's or about from 7 main people who playing the roles. All 7 are Muslims, and which 5 of them are the Muslim women. And the film is a bit different than the current movies that they are creating in Hollywood for Muslims. I think that I hope that this film can change the perception of the women participation in STEM and engineering, and also in general about Muslim women. But because it's more positive, is a film is about hope. But yeah, and I hope that people, understand that Afghan women are not a victim; they're fighters, and there will be pushback against injustice in whatever ways that they can, whether they're through the underground schools or online education or through the storytelling. So
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot for you to share your thoughts and about not only the film but your work, and talk a little bit about the Taliban. We hear all these sort of terrible things that are out there and what's going on, but the work that you're doing to chip away at the negativity by providing hope, it's meaningful. I mean, it's what we do at M4M here at Muslims for Muslims, focusing on a path forward as opposed to looking backwards. But I appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot.
thank you for having me.
Thank you.